Hi Leo. Welcome to your mid-March 2020 Tarot and Astrology reading. This is for Leo Sun, Leo Moon and Leo Rising. I think there's a lot of anxiety with you based on Saturn's move into your relationship sector, particularly for Leo Rising. Mars is in there too, so it gets off to quite a start, not to mention Hermit energy, that full moon in Virgo really touched upon a few areas for you that you need to look a bit deeper on. Saturn and Mars moving into the sign of Aquarius, which is your relationship sector, is going to, in some ways, cause a bit of push and pull in your relationship dynamics towards the end of March leading into April. And Aries season is obviously, as a fire sign, beautiful energy for you. It is your 9th house of travel, of expansion, of philosophy, of higher thought. But the new moon in Aries makes an interesting dynamic with Saturn, which gives the transition a bit of push and pull, as I said, 5 of Cups. For a lot of you Leos, there may have been a significant cull in your relationships already. You may have found that certain friendships have died out, disappeared, that you didn't think would disappear, or certain relationships fell when they feel like they shouldn't have fallen. And if not, perhaps you're concerned, as a fixed sign would be, as anybody would be, that that's going to happen now. The thing about Saturn is that Saturn likes to play the long game. Saturn likes to draw things out to make sure that you're getting the appropriate lesson, you're getting the appropriate memo, Knight of Pentacles, slow and steady. So if you're concerned that all of a sudden everybody's going to leave, I would not worry so much. The eclipse of the full moon in Cancer back in January, the effects are still lingering for 6 months. They will continue to linger until June, July even, prepping you for your season. But that Cancerian energy for you may have pulled a few things into perspective in terms of the company you keep, in terms of the world that you inhabit. So, with Mars moving there is a prior warning to watch your famous roar, your roasting of others, particularly your relationships, because whenever you get angry, which isn't always that often, but when you get angry, you need to learn how to pause, 4 of Swords, reflect and be calm instead of letting it all rip, because there is a point in April where you might want to let it all rip. The fire might get too hot and you might burn people. Oosh! Especially if you're dealing with an Aquarius. Here we have Capricorn and Aquarius, the Saturn shift from Capricorn to Aquarius. Wants to teach you something, wants you to acknowledge it, wants you to be obsessively hopeful of things to come in a world where we could use a little bit more Leo optimism, you know? Capricorn energy is quite heavy in the sky at the minute. Your optimism would be very welcome. High Priestess, the Tower, the 2 of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Emperor. Ooh, Aries season is going to be very, very strong for you. Underneath, Queen of Swords. And to clarify the Emperor, we have 10 of Swords and Temperance. Stunning. There's actually, apart from the star, there's nothing you would rather see than Temperance with the 10 of Swords. So, again, keeping that optimism healthy. So, Leo. As we exit Pisces season, the Sun-Neptune conjunction in that side of the sky for you, ruling the most intimate, deepest desires, the dark side in a sense of yourself. That 8th house energy is Scorpiophonic in nature. It is all to do with your own personal depth as a person. And for some of you, you're deeper than others. It will go deeper than others. It depends very much on your own personal depth. And I think for a lot of you, you're a little bit scared of what is going on in your dreams. I think for some of you, although it's not here, the 9 of Swords is more nightmare energy, but with the Tower and the High Priestess, I feel like a lot of you are having a little bit of a spiritual epiphany. It's almost as if you are discovering new tools in divination that you've never examined before. You're discovering more psychology. You have more of an interest in the workings of the human mind, of the subconscious. For some of you, you could be studying psychology. With Aries season, there could be a desire to do that. Body language, all these things. You're really, really finding that in order to, and it's quite interesting, in order to understand everybody else, you first have to look inward and understand yourself and your own blind spots and your own shortcomings. And that is something not many Leos choose to acknowledge. But I believe, because I posted about this last Leo season, but Madonna, who is a Leo, she gets, as well, your personal opinions on her aside, whatever they may be, you may love her, you may hate her, it is still a human being, but she has this remedy in her head to situations that she feels a sense of embarrassment or confusion for. And she says the key question to ask yourself whenever you're going through something is, what was I thinking? Because that shows that you're willing to question yourself, and when you question yourself, you get a lot further. Self-love is, in part, and people don't realize this often, self-love is not just accepting who you are and being okay with that. Self-love is being able to call yourself out on your own things and work through them. Being able to call yourself out on your stubbornness, being able to call yourself out on your unwillingness to apologize when you're wrong, being able to call yourself out on why you have gone on a 3D bender and not called your partner. Those kind of things. I think for a lot of you, there comes a point when you're choosing what path to take, and it may be choosing what direction your relationship's going in, what direction your career is going. But with the Knight of Pentacles, it's a challenge. I think, Leo, your drive is coming from getting things done yesterday. It's a need to push things really far, really quick. And the Knight of Pentacles, slow-moving energy being your challenge, you're not quite feeling as though it's going at the speed that you want it to. And with the Emperor as the outcome with the 10 of Swords and Temperance, not looking at the finer details of where you are at the moment could be catastrophic. The Capricorn energy in the sky, with Mars being there till the end of the month, with Jupiter being there for the rest of the year, Saturn's about to make an exit, but Saturn won't make an exit without giving you a final exam. With Pluto being there, all in your sector of Capricorn, the finer details in your life, you're being really tested to see if you've missed something. If you want to lead, if you want to be self-employed, if you want to be your own boss, if you want to be in charge of your SHIT, if you want everything to be going the way that you want it to be going in Leo land, you really need to make sure you're paying attention to the finer details, even if they bore you intensely, even if it's your taxes, even if it is your bills, whatever it is. The Emperor energy, who is so in command of his empire, can still have a mighty fall if he doesn't look inward and call himself out on things, because no emperor, no president, no prime minister, nobody is suddenly immune to self-examination. In fact, it is much healthier to appoint people who have a strong sense of, I was wrong when this happened, or I did this and I own up to it, and there's something in my past I did, etc., etc., etc. People that are willing to call themselves out, people that are willing to apologize for the things they did wrong, people that can understand it rather than gloss over it and say that they needlessly defend the thing they did that they know was wrong, but they don't want to be wrong. That is when an emperor takes a fall. That is when a prime minister has to step down. That is when a president is exposed as doing something they shouldn't have done. We saw it with Bill Clinton, a Leo. Denial in mid-March onwards is dangerous. Just quite put simply, dangerous. We have the Tower, we have the Ten of Swords. But, and I'm going to take a swig of coffee before I get into this. We also have a beautiful healing energy for any fall you may have had, any fight you may have had, any breakdown, break of relationship, whatever it may be, Leo, that is so 10 of Swords for you, where you feel so in your despair at something or the potential to be despair, there comes this beautiful moment of grace, of clarity, of understanding that is Temperance. You will be admired for your ability to heal that Ten of Swords wound within yourself. Big changes came with your Leo full moon in January, I believe. No, it was February, sorry. In February. That Leo full moon has indeed taken some things from your life, maybe. It has made you examine yourself more. It has indeed, particularly if we're dealing with an air sign, maybe even a Libra, it has given you a different definition of what success in relationships mean. And for those of you that have had, for some reason or another, run-ins with the law, you're finally thinking, I couldn't possibly rely on anybody else to get me out of this. I have to own what I've done. That is where hope lies with Saturn's move into Aquarius. Owning your stuff is going to be a big theme about Saturn and Aquarius for you, particularly in your relationships, but it is also going to show you as it moves in, excuse me, as it moves into Aquarius at the end of March, particularly with the push from Mars. It is going to show you the key themes initially that you need to examine in order to successfully go through this, because Saturn is not there to punish you. In fact, depending on, of course, what degree of Leo you are, I think it is July Leos will feel this energy quicker. Those of you born towards the end of August will not feel this for a few years. I noticed when Saturn was teaching me things, because you can't ignore it. You'll see when it is hitting off certain degrees. I am currently at the beginning of my Saturn return. I am a Saturn in Aquarius, a 1991 child, and when Saturn first started getting into that first degree for me, I felt it instantly. You are suddenly thrown into a new perspective, and this will always happen when Saturn's changing signs. People feel it the most, and it can cause a lot of fear. It can cause a lot of pessimism, and this is why I say your optimism, your sunniness, Leo, is so key to the world right now, and you can think of nothing worse than having to hide yourself away from the world. But believe it or not, your choices and decisions can really, really, really help people mid-March to April. And you have that itch to go on an adventure, for sure. But for a lot of you, it is an adventure of the soul. you're spiritually protected by something. If you believe in guardian angels, if you believe in spirit guides, here they are, telling you that no matter what your Ten of Swords moment has been, and I think for a lot of you, it hit you hardest in the ego rather than the heart, because the Emperor is someone who most likely has a lot of pride, but he keeps it all contained. You deserve to have your Emperor moment, and you will, and you will, and you will. I'm just warning you that if it is in denial of any introspection and there is no self-awareness there, it could be an almighty fall. Draw one more clarifier. Ooh, these came out again. Six of Wands and Justice. If you're going through a legal dispute, you're most likely successful. At least who is fair will be successful, who has been very careful of their karma. And I think if you have been in an unhealthy relationship of some kind, or if you're in a relationship that is going through a lot of turbulence, you could actually move forward with this, provided you look at your own negative behavior and they do so as well. That is the negotiation of Saturn. You have to learn something. You have to be willing to learn something. But I'm glad to see that whatever this Ten of Swords moment is, because this is always something that builds. It's when you realize that you can't continue doing the thing you've been doing any longer and you finally surrender, and that's when everything starts to feel clear. When the dust settles and you realize that you are still the emperor of an empire. Aries season is going to make you question a lot of things. And it can make you, for better, question your own behavior, but not question yourself and your worth. That is something you must not question. Your sense of self and your worth. Being able to examine yourself and improve for the better is an act of self-love. It is not self-discrimination. Know the difference. And if you don't know the difference, figure out how slow you're willing to go with things that you want. Because if you're trying to rush it, it is trying to get yourself out of a situation because you cannot possibly examine it. And that's a concern. If you are willing to think about the next step patiently, calmly, and do so with spiritual reasoning and feeling of compassion, you can do that too. It would be advised to embody... Ooh, I dropped my amethyst. I always keep it sitting on my head. It would be difficult not to embody the High Priestess energy after coming out of a Pisces season with the retrograde and such. Whew. With Pisces, we've Aries twice, and we've Sagittarius. Between now and the full moon in Sagittarius, in Gemini season Leo, you are going to be sitting on top of an empire. I think for a lot of you it's career. I think you are going in the right direction. I think your time is better than ever to have the self-employment you desire, to have the dream job that you want, and to make the money that you want. I think this is your time, and I think it involves a little bit of psychological work, a little bit of examination within yourself, but you are headed towards the empire that you desire. And if you've had a Tower moment, this is your Empire Strikes Back. See? I love you guys.